My name is Elias. I come from a small town. The streets were quiet. The people knew each other. My house was old. The roof leaked sometimes. We had one TV and one shared room. My father worked hard. My mother cooked daily. We didn't have much, but we had love. I was the oldest. I helped my siblings. I walked them to school. I cleaned our yard. Since I was a child, I dreamed of more. I looked at the sky. I wished to travel. My school was small. My books were torn, but I studied well, and I always listened. My teacher told me, "You can go far." I smiled wide. I felt proud inside. My friends played games, but I stayed late. I read all night and wrote my dreams. When I turned 20, my life changed fast. I got a letter. I was accepted abroad. A school in Europe, a place I don't know, a country with snow, and people I've never met. I ran home smiling. My heart was full. I told my parents. They held me tight. But we were poor. We had no savings. We had no gold and no extra money. So my father cried and sold his land. He kissed my head and said, "Go fly." My mother prayed. She packed my bag. She gave me bread and kissed my face. My little brother hugged me. He gave me a note. It said, "Be strong. Come back soon." I held the note. I held my breath. I waved goodbye and walked away. The bus was cold. My eyes were wet. My hands were shaking. But I said nothing. I looked behind. My home grew small. My village faded. The road was long. At the airport gate, I stood alone. I showed my papers and passed through silence. I sat by the window. I saw the lights. I thought of home and felt afraid. The plane took off. The sky grew dark. I closed my eyes. I felt the fear. People spoke fast. I understood nothing. I stayed quiet and watched the clouds. The flight was long. I didn't sleep. My stomach hurt. My heart beat loud. I arrived in winter. The air was sharp. My breath was fog. My feet were freezing. No one waited. No one smiled. No one asked me, "How are you?" I found my bag. I looked for signs. I followed people. I felt so small. The city was big. The cars were fast. The lights were bright. My head was spinning. I held my map. I held my hope. I looked for buses. I missed my town. I reached my room. It smelled like smoke. The walls were thin. The bed was hard. I shared the room with 3 strange boys. They didn't smile. They spoke no words. One played music, one cooked fish, one stayed silent, and I stayed quiet. I missed my mom. I missed her food. I missed her voice and warm hands. That night I cried, but very soft. I covered my face and bit my lip. I didn't sleep. I watched the moon. I held my phone and saw no texts. I wanted to call, but it was late. I didn't want to make them worry. So I just waited and closed my eyes. I dreamed of home and woke in fear. In the morning, I got up slow. I washed my face and drank cold tea. I wore my coat. It felt too big. I walked outside. and saw the snow. People walked fast, no one looked back, no one smiled, no one cared. I felt invisible, I felt so weak. I missed my home, I missed my name. I found my school. The halls were wide, the walls were clean, and students loud. I tried to speak, they didn't hear. I tried to smile, but they looked away. I sat in class, my hands were cold. The teacher spoke fast, my brain was slow. I wrote one word, then two more, then I stopped and looked around. I wanted to leave, but I stayed strong. I thought of my dad. I thought of his land. He sold it all for me to grow, for me to try, for me to change. I can't go home. I must hold on. I must fight fear. I must move on. So I took notes and stayed till end. I walked back slow. My steps were heavy. I passed a shop. I saw fresh bread. It smelled like home. But I walked on. I had no money, just coins in hand. I bought some rice and walked away. Back in my room, I cooked in silence. I ate alone and washed my plate. I sat in bed. I read my book. I opened the note my brother wrote. Be strong. Come back soon. I read again. I closed my eyes and wiped one tear. I didn't sleep, but I didn't cry. I just breathed slow and felt the cold. I knew it now. This was my path. Not easy, not soft, but mine to take. Tomorrow will come. I will rise. I will speak more and walk again. The next day came. The sky was gray. The wind was cold, and my hands shook. I put on boots. I wore my scarf. I took my bag and left the room. My legs were heavy. My mind was tired, but I kept walking and crossed the street. Cars moved fast. People looked down. No one smiled, and I missed home. At school, I sat in the second row near the door, where I felt safe. The teacher spoke. Her voice was calm, but the words flew, and I felt lost. I looked around. Others took notes. They typed fast. I moved slow. I wrote one sentence, then I erased, then I stopped and looked outside. I started reading, at night alone, with soft music and a cup of tea. My dictionary helped. I learned new words. I repeated them and spoke them low. Sometimes I failed. Sometimes I froze. But I tried again and grew more brave. Week by week, I got much better. I understood more. I made less mistakes. I worked at night in a small cafe, washing dishes and mopping floors. The chef was rude. He yelled a lot, but I stayed quiet and did my work. My back would hurt, my fingers cracked, but I needed money. I had no choice. I sent money home. Every 2 weeks, my mother thanked me. My father stayed proud. I missed my family. I missed their talks. I missed the sun and simple food. My room was dark. The heater broke. I wore 2 shirts and held my breath. The cold was deep. It filled my chest. I coughed at night and lost sleep. But I told myself, it's just a phase, and kept going step by step. One day it rained, I had no coat, my shoes got wet, I caught a cold. I went to school, I felt so weak, I sat in class and closed my eyes. The teacher saw. She came to me. She spoke kind words and touched my arm. Go home and rest, she told me soft, and for the first time, I felt seen. Back in my room, I drank hot tea. I read old texts and cried a bit. A boy I knew from back at home sent me a text. He missed our talks. We spoke for hours through voice and laugh. It felt like light after so much dark. He said, "You changed," I said, "a little." And we both smiled, though miles apart. At work one day I met a man. His name was Paul, and he said hi. He was older than me, but spoke so warm. He gave me tips and helped me grow. We worked at night, we shared our lunch. He told me jokes and called me friend. That word felt good. That word felt big, like I was human, not just a ghost. Paul taught me how to speak with ease, to face the crowd, and breathe slow. We walked together, to and from work. We talked of dreams and simple things. He once said this, "Your story matters. Don't hide your past. Share your light." That stayed with me like a quiet fire and pushed me forward when I felt low. At school I tried to join a group. They played guitar and read poems too. I sat one day. They asked my name. I said, Elias. They said, "Come in." We shared some tea, we talked of life, we laughed a bit, and time moved fast. I felt alive. I felt more warm, like I belonged, like I was known. One girl named June, she smiled at me. She liked my poems and heard my words. She asked me once, "Do you miss home?" I nodded slow and told her all. She didn't judge. She simply said, "You're strong, Elias, more than you know." That made me think. That made me hope that maybe I can be strong again. Seasons changed. The snow was gone, the sun came back, and flowers bloomed. I walked each day with lighter steps. I held my book and hummed a song. My world grew wide. I knew more streets, more faces smiled, and doors opened. But inside me still I missed one thing, my mother's laugh and father's voice. I called them more. I sent more pics. I told them jokes, and they felt close. My little brother was taller now. He showed me school and called me big. They asked if I'd come home again. I said one day, and meant it true. But for that year, I had to stay and chase this path with all I had. I bought new shoes, I bought a coat, I ate warm meals, and joined a club. I helped a boy with his homework once. He said, "Thank you," and that felt right. A teacher smiled. She liked my work. She told the class, "He's doing great." I felt so proud I almost cried. I sent the news to home that night. Months passed by. My steps grew strong. My voice felt firm and my eyes clear. I learned to cook. I cleaned with care. I folded clothes. and paid my bills. My days were full, my nights were long, but my soul felt a little calm. I was still alone, but not so lost, not so scared, not always sad. At school I smiled. I raised my hand. I shared my thoughts and asked new things. Teachers listened well, classmates nodded too. I felt respected and not so small. I still made mistakes, but I learned fast. I wrote with ease. I spoke with care. I found my rhythm. I found my pace. I found my will to keep on going. Paul and I, we met each week. We drank strong tea. We talked for hours. He told me stories about his past, about his wife and old guitar. He made me laugh. He made me think. He gave me hope without big words. Some people shine, not from noise but from kindness and calm fire. One day I wrote a small short poem about my home and broken roots. I shared it once with a quiet girl. Her name was Liza. Her smile was warm. She said it deep. She said it soft. Your words have weight. They stay inside. That made me proud. That made me write. That made me share a bit more heart. I joined a group of art and words. We sat in parks and read aloud. Some brought guitars, some brought paint. We shared our thoughts like passing light. We were all new, we were all far, we all missed home. We all had dreams, it felt like home. Though we were lost, though we were mixed, we felt like one. I worked more hours, saved more cash, bought better food, and slept more calm. I called my mom every Sunday night. She told me news. She told me tales. She asked again, "When will you come?" I said, "Soon, when all is done." But deep inside, I feared the day of coming back, not as the same. I was changing slow in voice and look, in how I walked, in how I thought. I wore new clothes, I changed my hair, I even smiled, at strangers too. But sometimes late I closed my eyes and dreamed of goats and dusty roads. I missed the hills, I missed the smell of tea and bread and calm, wide fields. A part of me was growing bold, but one small part still missed the boy who left with one old bag, with eyes so wide, with heart so soft. He loved the stars, he feared the dark. He wrote his name on school desk wood. Now here I am, inside a train with book in hand and heavy head. I went to work in cleaner shoes with stronger back and steady hands. I helped new kids who just arrived. I told them rules. I showed them maps. Some called me sir, some said you're kind, and I just smiled and said, it's fine. I knew their fear, I knew their hope, I knew their tears, I knew their nights. I met a man from far like me. His name was Zed. His hands were rough. He worked in wood, he made small toys, he missed his kids, he lived alone. We shared warm food, we shared one laugh, we shared deep talks, when work was slow. He said one thing that stayed with me. We grow in cracks, not only light. One evening late, I got a call. My brother spoke. His voice was low. He said my dad was getting weak. The farm was dry. The roof was bad. I froze in place. I held my breath. I wanted wings. I wanted time. He said no rush, but I could tell. He meant come soon before it's late. I looked outside. The moon was full. The streets were wet. The world was still. I felt so torn, between two homes, between two lives, between two names. My name was known in both those lands, but in both hearts I felt half full. I made a list of all I gained and all I lost since I had left. I planned a trip to go back home, to see the fields, to touch the earth. I booked a seat, I packed my bags, I told my boss, and wrote a note. I told my friends, I may not stay, I may return, or I may rest. Some cried with joy, some looked unsure, but all said, go, you must go see. I wore my suit, I held my bag, I hugged Paul tight, I called my mom. She cried with joy, she sang a song, she told the town, my boy is back. At the airport gate, I felt so cold. I held my heart and looked behind. So much I built, so much I learned, and now I leave to start again. The flight was long, the sky was dark, I didn't sleep, I just stayed still. I thought of years, of things I did, of words I heard, of tears I hid. 12 years passed, like water flows, like smoke in wind, like fading sun. Now I return, not as I was, but still myself, just shaped by time. The plane went down, the land looked dry, the fields were wide, the roads were small. I saw the trees, I saw the dust, I saw the sky, and felt a pull. I left the gate, I took a breath, I smelled old wind, I felt a shake. This was my land, this was my place, but something deep now felt unsure. My brother waved, his eyes were wet. He hugged me tight and touched my face. He said, you changed. I said, you too. He smiled a bit and took my bag. The car was old, the road was rough, the town was near, the shops were shut. My heart beat fast, my hands felt weak. I watched the trees, I watched the sky. At home I stopped, the gate was red, the paint was gone, the door was small. My mother came, her back was bent, her voice was low, her hair was white. She touched my arm, she kissed my cheek. She held me close, then looked away. I saw her eyes, they knew my face, but not my soul, not all the way. My room was there, the bed still hard, the walls still plain, the desk still old. But I was not. The boy who left, my mind was full, my heart was torn. I sat in silence. I touched the books. I found a note. I heard my breath. The roof had cracks, the floor was weak, but still it held, a part of me. The next few days I walked around. I met old friends. I shook old hands. Some smiled wide, some looked unsure. Some said I changed, some said I left. I tried to laugh, I tried to talk, but words felt slow and thoughts felt cold. I was still me, but not quite same. They saw the shell, but not the storm. I saw the school. The gate was new. The kids were loud. The yard was clean. I saw my name, still carved in wood, a tiny line, now full of dust. A teacher waved. She said, "You made it." I said, "I tried." She said, "You grew." We drank some tea. She told me news, who stayed, who left, who found their way. I met the mayor. He shook my hand. He smiled wide and said, "Welcome home." He asked my help. He asked my thoughts. He asked my plan. But I just paused. What could I give to this old town when I felt torn from both my worlds? He said, "You try." He said, "We need you." I said, "Maybe," then looked away. I spent one night beside my dad. He could not talk, but held my hand. His breath was slow. His eyes were soft. His soul was tired. His skin was thin. He blinked one time. He smiled once more, then closed his eyes, then went to sleep. I sat in dark. I sat in still. I let one tear fall down my face. The funeral came, the people cried, the prayers rose, the dust went high. I stood in front. I said few words. I thanked the crowd. I said goodbye. My brother wept. My mother shook. I held them close. I felt their pain. He gave his life for all of us, and now he rests inside this land. Weeks went by. The sun was hot. The sky was wide. The days were long. I helped repair the broken wall. I cleaned the room. I fixed the gate. I planted trees. I painted wood. I walked each day and talked to men. They shared their grief. They shared their hope. They shared their dreams and asked me more. One boy said, "Can you teach me?" I said, "Of course," and gave him books. He came each day. He read out loud. He asked smart things. He wrote with care. More children came. They brought their friends. They sat in shade and learned with joy. I saw their eyes. I saw my past. I saw my chance to give them light. I started small with just one class beneath one tree with chalk and board. Then came a tent. Then came some help. Then came some books. Then came a sign. The sign was bold. It said, "New Start, a place to learn for every kid." I worked all day. I stayed up late. I helped them read. I helped them write. One girl drew maps. One boy wrote poems. One built small cars with hands and wire. They asked for more. They dreamed so big. They told me things that touched my chest. I saw in them the thing I lost, the fire, the faith, the endless hope. And through their joy I felt alive, I felt at peace, I found my why. Some nights I sat on top the hill. I watched the stars, I breathed in deep. The wind was kind, the moon was full, the goats were near, the world was still. I closed my eyes, I saw two lives, one far away, one here with roots. And in that place, between them both, I found my truth. I found my peace. Months passed slowly. The school grew strong. More kids came in. More joy was seen. The village smiled. The air felt light. The nights were calm. The days were clear. Leo woke early. He walked with hope. He waved at kids. He fixed the gate. He felt more peace. With every step, with every word, with every smile. He met new friends from near and far. They came to help. They came to learn. Some brought books, some shared food, some gave money, some gave time. Leo kept working with full heart, with kind hands, with quiet pride. His days were full, his soul felt light, his voice was calm, his path felt sure. One day he sat with his old friend. They drank sweet tea, they watched the trees. His friend said soft, "You found your place." Leo just smiled and looked ahead. "I lost my past. I lost my home. But here I built a new small dream." His friend held cup and said with care, "Sometimes we lose to truly see." Letters arrived from far away, old classmates wrote, with kind, soft words. They saw the news, they saw the school, they saw the change, they sent their praise. Leo read slow, he closed his eyes, he held the page, and felt deep joy. He did not need the big, loud world to prove his worth, to feel complete. One boy asked, "Will you ever leave?" Leo stayed quiet, then shook his head. He said at last, "This is my home, this is my road, this is my end." He taught them well. He taught them soft. He gave them time. He gave them love. He told them truths. He shared his pain. He made them laugh. He gave them light. His mother smiled. She watched him work. She sat in sun. She drank her tea. She said one day, "Your father would smile. He would be proud. He would be glad." Leo said calm, "I hope he knows. I found my way. I gave my best." She touched his hand and said with tears, "You gave us more than we could ask." The sun was high, the field was green, the kids ran fast, their voices loud. They played with joy, they sang with peace, they danced with love, they dreamed big dreams. Leo watched them. His eyes were soft, his heart was full, his past felt light. He did not need to prove a thing. He did not chase what was not his. Years went by. The school stood strong. The village changed. But Leo stayed. He taught with joy. He lived with peace. He aged with pride. He loved with care. One evening late, he sat alone. He wrote his thoughts with gentle hand. He wrote these lines with simple truth. "I lost so much, but I found me.